lovely crafters. Today I am here with the full deck challenge hosted by Shanuki Art. Today's card is card 28 and the prompt is black. So I've pulled together all my little black and white bits and bobs. My constant I changed halfway through the pack, so my constant is going to be a playing card, mini playing card, corresponding with the main card, and my carryover today is going to be numbers from last week's card. So I have no idea where this card is going today. I know I want to use more black than white, and so I've got all sorts of bits of papers and scrappy bits that I have pulled out. I've got this lovely vellum. I quite like to use some of that as well. So I'm going to get started. I'm using up the leftovers of this giant glue stick, and I'm using it like a PVA glue, and I'm just spreading it on. It spreads quite nicely, and I'm just going to collage my background, bringing that in. So I just went through my scraps drawer. I've got colour sorted scraps, so I went through the black and white scrap drawer and just pulled out anything that I thought might work today. So I'm not thinking about it. The collage on the background I rarely think about. This is some of my own gel print that I did, and I just build up the background so that we've got a basis to start. Bring the card up a little. Can you see the bottom corner? Yeah. So I'm kind of going to use this week to catch up on art challenges that I'm part of that have kind of fallen by the wayside in July because I've done Junk Journal July. I have really enjoyed Junk Journal July. Check out my playlist. But I also do the full deck challenge hosted by Shanuki, and I will put a link to her Facebook group and YouTube channel in the comments below. I'm not going to cut that up because I think I want to keep that. So I'm just using some of my scrapbook stash. This is quite a nice one. Most of my resources, apart from the ones that I have purchased from Temu, which July has really challenged me about using Temu, I pick up most of my resources from scrap stores. So we've got a really good one in Gloucester, the Gloucester Recycling Centre, and they have, oh my word, they have just, it's a huge warehouse, and you pay membership, and then you go in and you can fill a shopper bag, and it costs you, I think, £11 for the bag. But they always have such a range of stuff. So there's obviously all the junk modelling bits and bobs that schools use, but there's fabric, there's papers. They have a corner that's just full of leftover scrap kits that people have no longer need for and bring in. And I just plonk myself down somewhere and I sit and I go through that, and I found some right little treasures. But they have stamps, all the fiddly bits and bobs. I think I've mentioned before, one time my friend and I, who's also a member, went along and we picked up the old COVID testing swabs, and I use them in quite a lot of artwork because they're a little bit more sturdy than cotton swabs, and they're great for dabbing or blending. So you can just see my cards are quite large, so they do take a while to fill up. yeah, I think next year if I do the challenge again, which I probably will do because I've quite enjoyed it. I have completed challenge 1 and I have posted those photos on the group. I've started giving away some of the cards from the challenges I've completed because I start popping them in Happy Mail. So if you're on Junk Journal Fairies and you've had some of my Happy Mail recently, you'll notice you've had some of my full deck challenge cards. I am going to probably join in with the Happy Mail on the Junk Journal community chat as well, just because it's a great way of getting resources that you might not see or think about. I do work in a charity shop, so I do have quite good access to bits and bobs. And it's a great way of sharing stuff that actually potentially I won't use. Sometimes I get those, you get the packs of scrapbook and stuff. I have friends who have previously or still do make cards, but they've used up what they want out of the pack and they then want to pass the pack on, which is wonderful, but it's not generally stuff, always stuff that I will necessarily use. Some of the card toppers are a bit twee and cutesy. Where I mean, I don't really go down the cutesy route. I do fairies. But yeah, sorry, this is taking longer than planned, but that's fine. Let's just pop that in there. So you can see, so the whole point of Full Deck Challenge 3 is to have your little mini collage and you build on top of that mini collage. I'm just finishing it off. Have that. If I was going to put texture paste or anything on this, like Shanuki does, I'd probably cover it with a layer of gesso or a layer of PVA just to make it a little bit more waterproof. But I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm not using texture paste or anything like that today, so that's fine. So I think we are almost covered. So for my focal point, I would like to use the clock on this paper. This is actually waterproof paper that I picked up a pack of at the scrap store. So I'm just going to cut the clock out. I'm going to have that sitting in that corner because it's got the two straight edges. And then, so this word memorable, yeah, probably going to use that somewhere. And then on these cards, these are little journal cards I was sent in a Happy Mail. I've got you make my heart so happy every day. So I'm going to use that one as well, possibly not the memorable. So we're going to use those two. And ooh, I've got a little bit of sparkle and some of these stickers that were obviously in a wedding pack. I quite like that one. I love you always and forever. So let's start building up the focus. So that's going to be my focus point. So behind that, I'd like to put some wide lace. So this is quite a wide lace. I think it's actually like a knicker band or something. So I'm going to just use, no, probably not that one. Let's have this one. I'm just going to have a strip of that coming down this edge of the card. Did I get a pair of scissors out? I did, because I've just used them. There they are. Right, so I'm going to have that coming down the card. And I tend to use double-sided tape to stick ribbon. Tends to be the best thing. So So I'm just going to stick a line of that down the edge. I'll trim up the edges in a wee minute, but I just want to get, there we go. Stick that down there. And then, where's my clock gone? So we're going to have the clock coming out of that corner. And then almost like a little pocket, we can have the clock making a pocket, and I'm going to have like these coming out. But I'm not actually going to have them falling in and out, because on my book then, they just drive me mad. So we've got the time, clock, and yep, so let's get that stuck down. Oh, sorry. I am looking at a newsstand so that I don't keep doing that. Otherwise, you'll all end up getting a little bit seasick. Right, so we want that there. And I want to stick the card in. I'm just going to leave the card as is. Last week, I punched a corner out. I punched a hole in the corner and added some string. But for today, because the card is quite black and white, I just want to leave the card as is. But what I am going to do before I stick these down, and I probably should have done it before I added the glue, is I'm going to use my silver marker. These are just chalk markers that I grabbed out the wedding section in the range. So I am just going to use my marker, just go round. The edge of that card. Okay, so I'm going to have that kind of almost at an angle. I'm not going to stick the top down because I think I'm going to have something else. I want to have this coming out here. And then this coming out in the corner there. Okay, so let's just stick all that down. You can see I've done quite a rough job on the corner, on the edges. I'm just going to go round a little bit more. Just makes it stand out a little bit more. I probably should have done this before I started, but I'm just going to come round, not necessarily round the edge, but just round the outside. There we go. And then I'm going to use, don't chuck it on the floor, a bit of my black thread, just rolled up and popped behind that card like that. And then we're just going to go down with that. Lovely. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue up here. This glue dries clear, so it's quite handy. And stick that down. Because of chalk markers, it has made a little bit of a mess, but that's not to worry. Let's go down. Okay. Let's take off the glue. Okay. Let's have this sentiment. I want it coming down there, so let's just go round. So we've got the carryover of the numbers, which you can just not see, but there's numbers on the clock. There was definitely numbers in the collage. We've got the constant, that's my mini playing card and collage. And then the last thing I do on all of my cards If you've watched my video, you'll see that I've sewn my cards into a book. And the last thing I do on my cards is I add a corner with the number. So I'm going to use this paper to make the corner. And I'm going to grab my whole pouch. Which one is it? And I'll cut one of that one. And what should we have as the background? Put that on the back. One of that one. So there's my 2 cards. So that will go in the corner there. And then, where's this gone? I'm going to just stamp my number. So I'm just grabbing my stamps. So this little set of stamps came from the scrap store in Banbury. It's called Orinoco Scrap Store. And I've lost the 4, but fortunately one of my very good friends, Kat, has the same set. So when I need to, I just pinch her number 4 if the card number's got a 4 in it. So I'm just going to make a really clear stamp of the number 2. Okay. And then a really clear stamp of the number 8. Just like that. Let's just, while we're just waiting for the ink on the stamp to dry, I'm just going to cut off the excess around the card. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut these out. So let's stick these down really quickly. I am just going to use a smaller glue stick. So I'm just going to stick the back of this one. So that's the back, and I line the back up with the top stripe. It just means I get them all in the right place. Stick this one down. And then I'm just going to cut these out. Some of them I did stamp directly onto the background, but by cutting them out, it just kind of makes it stick a little bit more. It's going to have 20. What did I do with the 8? That's there. So I'm making, as you can see, I make my cards on jumbo, but I am simultaneously making a smaller set in craft group that I go to, because and my challenge for those is I'm not allowed to use florals, because I do rely quite heavily on florals in most of my collages. I do love a floral. I wear a lot of florals. I have a lot of florals in my garden, a lot of flowers. And then just using these Doodle glitter pens. I think these are just home bargains. I just go round some of the detail just to make it pop. Not all of it. Okay. And last thing I'm actually going to add today is I'm going to have a look in my sticker pack, and I'm going to grab a sticker that I feel can be part of this. I quite like that rose, so let's pull this rose off. These stickers are quite old. I think these came from a scrap store. The scrap store shop in Gloucester has a little shop as well. And it's just amazing. It's like dirt cheap. And you can pick up bits and bobs. Like I've had scrapbook paper packs that's like had a few pages out that have been £1. Have I got another rose? That one might work. We can just have that coming across the corner up there. And maybe this swirly whirly one. Just come in that corner there, making sure it's all stuck down. Oh, it's twisted itself. Hang on. Right. The very last thing I do is I either ink around the edge, or today, because it's all black and it's quite crisp, I'm just going to use my Sharpie and just go round the edge of the card. Go around the edge of this just to make sure any of those white edges are gone. And there is today's card, which is black. Thank you so much, Shanuki, for your wonderful Facebook group, which is really supportive, and also all your inspiration and encouragement. So card 28, black. Thank you.